Good evening. Ryan with the Mars Leadership Services. CEO, field agent, surveillance, counsel, ultimately building a brand and equating to legacy. Now, there are many attributes that could be discussed, processes, ingredients, if you will. When we first talk in executive leadership, oversight, and it really does not matter your occupation. What matters is the care of your individualized personhood and your sense of identity and subsequent purpose and mission. CEO, the attribute here that we want to use as a culminating word is ownership. Number one is to take ownership. To take ownership for yourself, for your future, and for how you can conduct yourself regardless of any other circumstance. Number two can require some time, but the biggest thing is just not giving up. It's continuing to journey, and that is the work in the field. Whatever that field is, just the field of life. The specific fields that you find yourself working in. To be a field agent in your particular line is huge. That's where our war stories are developed. That's where our personhood is sometimes we feel tested. That's where we experience growth. That there is a lot of puberty. There is a lot of growth patterns during those stretches. That's when we are in the field. Another area that intersects with this is something that we would call surveillance or observation. What this refers to is a lot of patience, a lot of reflection. Once we're in the field for very long in any particular niche, we'll realize that there's a lot of time, sometimes in between commas of sentences. And it could be 6 months, 9 years, 15 years, 15 months, 3 hours, 15 minutes. Different projects with different timestamps, circumstances in our lives. Sometimes 3 months can feel like forever. Sometimes 7 years can feel like a snap. But the main thing is to develop both patience and reflection. And when we, number one, have ownership, number two, we have experiences being gained by having our boots on the ground, so to speak. And then times where we are observing, we are learning. And that the reason why I don't just say observation, but I say surveillance is because oftentimes in our life, it becomes a very intentional way. We are surveying, we are analyzing, we are investigating. And sometimes we're doing that in a very secret fashion in our lives. We're not always on the platform. We're not always in the bright, shining, bright commercials. But a lot of times it's in the dark corridors. That culminates into counsel. That's where we're able to give back. And here's where I feel is a real diamond in the rough, because let's say of all the people who've taken ownership of their lives, who've had experiences, who've gone through observations, who've learned things, who've had to play the waiting game, and they, for various reasons, may not feel, or maybe just they've never thought of themselves as being an expert in their field. But I'm here to tell you, when you start to look back over a span of time, and you can start to see it in the perspective of narration, here's what I like to do with people. I don't necessarily need to tell them anything new. Oftentimes, by just listening to them, I'm able to then restate what they've told me, and suddenly they're seeing that, oh wow, this is a narrative. I do have this personhood about me. I can do this. I can brand myself as that. And when we go to a deeper level of branding, not a product, not even a service, but of your personhood, that there is a presence about your story that you don't have to be concerned with who's reading your story and if it's a #1 bookseller right now. And I'm not talking about print. But that's where legacy comes in. When we begin to view our leadership as more than a microwave, but something that is serving 3 generations from us. And the reason why I'm in the position that I am in now is because, one, I have taken ownership, but with that comes responsibility and sometimes blame. And experiences in the field can be rough. Times of waiting can be hard on the each internal person. But when we recognize that we can start to pull from all of our experiences, and when we talk about generational legacy, this whole thing did not start with me. We're talking about my dad, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents that have instilled and built legacy, and it is so important. My influence is, I care more about the generation of my children and the influence that it will give them so they can perpetuate in their own personhood, in their own mission, and in their own purposes. And the beautiful thing about that, when you start to collaborate your own experiences and you collaborate those of others, you realize there's no competition. It's all about collaboration, because it would be impossible to mirror 2 stories. So I just want to encourage you, 1, take ownership. You are a CEO. #2, give yourself time in the field, and just don't give up. Just keep calculating, letting those minutes rack up. It will benefit you. There will be a return on that investment. Surveillance, know that there's going to be some times where there's a lot of watching, a lot of waiting behind the scenes. And, when you use those things and recognize that I can become a counsel in these areas of life that I've experienced, that becomes your brand. And when you do it with the intent of heart, of quality, that it's not a microwave moment, that's when legacy can spark. That's when you can build something that's not built in just a 45-minute production, but over generations. So we continue to believe in you. Again, ownership, experience, patience, reflection, and giving back. Keep on keeping on. MLS, March Leadership Services. Subscribe to our streaming on IGTV or YouTube.